How does a franchise go from an over-the-top, hyper-sexualized, gory character action game with an incoherent story and combat deeper than the main character's cleavage, to a picturesque, heartwarming environment with a simple story about love and friendship with combat as deep as the main character's cleavage? I can't be the only one who thought this was some kind of joke when I saw the reveal at the Game Awards. The sentiment amongst fans and general audiences of Bayonetta was, "Oh, that's a cute idea, that looks like fun," but I thought, are you serious? It's the exact opposite of what this series has always been about. This is like if Activision made an open-world Call of Duty game set in a fantasy land with no online multiplayer. And by Fantasyland, I mean one where America isn't framed as the victim of a big bad foreign power. Of course, I wasn't appalled by the game by any means. On the contrary, I was just so perplexed and curious. And to be honest, I thought the game would be received poorly, which is why I didn't make a pre-release video on it as I do for most major releases. But I was so pleasantly surprised by this game. And the one thing I noticed throughout my playthrough is that the game has gone out of its way to be the exact opposite of the Bayonetta franchise we've come to love, to the point where I'm not sure the impetus of this game wasn't to utterly invert everything about the core trilogy. But now that I think about it, maybe that's just me, because everything I like about Bayonetta Origins is everything I don't like about mainline Bayonetta, starting with the art style. While I have no desire for a switch to at this point, that belief is based solely on the logic that Nintendo continues to make games in a colourful art style, while steering away from the realism of its competitors. And Bayonetta is the one exclusion to that rule, and due to that, the games are often quite ugly, not to mention environmentally disappointing. For example, Bayonetta 3 was a game about travelling the multiverse, but for a franchise so outrageous, its choices for alternate dimensions were oddly tame. By comparison, Bayonetta Origins has a wonderful visual design, rather than attempting realism and ending up with a jarring result. Platinum has taken some cues from its publisher, and given the Bayonetta franchise a magical colour palette that borrows heavily on the game's main inspiration of Alice in Wonderland. Although we can't just praise Bayonetta Origins alone for this art style, the only reason it's not incredibly startling is because of the main trilogy's narrative approach of anything can happen. This makes it tricky for Bayonetta to make a game or art style that feels out of place due to how ludicrous the mainline games can get. I mean, did anyone even blink when they started playing a genre 2D platformer in Bayonetta 3? Speaking of the narrative, that's another problem I have with the Bayonetta franchise, the completely jumbled approach it takes to tell even the simplest of stories. I mean, for as dumb and over-the-top as they present themselves, they sure have some lofty ambitions when it comes to storytelling. I mean, look at Bayonetta's biggest competitor, Devil May Cry. The stories in those games are completely ridiculous and easy to understand. This is mirrored by its completely ridiculous gameplay, and that's why those games work. Bayonetta thinks it has to be Kingdom Hearts, which honestly just creates more of a disconnect between the gameplay and its characters. I have to say that the ending of Bayonetta 3 didn't have an effect on me, because it turns out I didn't care about those characters. After all, I could never figure out what they were talking about. Meanwhile, when V died in DMC5, I was heartbroken because I liked him and his silly chicken. Bayonetta Origins tells a story that a child could understand because it's trying to be a fairy tale, and that's not a bad thing, although the lack of a distinct voice actor for Cheshire hurts a bit. It's a story about love and friendship. While that may sound corny, it's actually effective. There's a bit at the end that actually got me a little emotional. And Bayonetta in this game has more character growth than she did over the entire trilogy. It's surprisingly well done, and it's a strong aspect of this game. From what I've said so far, some of you might be thinking, wow, does he really like this game more than mainline Bayonetta? All he's done is talk about how much better this game is. Well, if you'll remember my distasteful comment about cleavage at the start of this video, you'll know why this game is inferior to the mainline games. The combat. Everything I've moaned about so far isn't why Bayonetta is popular. No one plays Bayonetta for the world or story. which is why the controversy surrounding 3's ending was a bit surprising. We're here for some of the most high-quality combat this medium has to offer, and Bayonetta Origins is not that. To be fair, this game is made for kids, so the gameplay has to be approachable, and Bayonetta combat isn't for everyone. But Origins combat isn't just not on par, it's not even that good. Bayonetta herself can't even damage enemies. All she can do is stun them, and that's not even necessary to beat the game. So your best course of action is to keep Bayonetta out of harm's way, while Cheshire kills everything with his one combo. It's drudging, it's painfully easy, and there's no point for Bayonetta to even be in her own game. Bayonetta Origins takes everything I love and hate about this series, and flips it on its head. It's a game I never thought I'd get, and I didn't really need. While I hope this game is a one-off, I'm pleasantly surprised by it, and I'm glad it let me say goodbye to Cereza one last time.